Welcome to Ahimsa Life. Today's class is going to focus on movement and some static stretching to let go of the tension that can gather in our shoulders, our necks, and down into our hips. So it can lead to sometimes having feelings like pinched nerves, just overall being tight and sore. So join us today. We're going to do a series of postures on the mat, laying down. And what I'm going to also encourage you to do is grab yourself some nice bath sheets so that you can make yourself some supports. You can always buy yoga blankets and bolsters, but you can just use towels from home. So the first set of towels you're going to fold to make yourself a little bit of support for the head. We want to be able to lay our head back, keeping our throat open and our head supported. So just made a small little pillow, and it is strictly underneath my head. My shoulders are off. And we're just going to start with our knees bent and our feet flat, and beginning with a nice pelvic tilt just to feel out what's happening. So as we breathe in, I move my ribs and my hip joints apart. And as I exhale, the ribs and hips come closer together and the back of my lower back gets flatter to the floor. Inhaling, opening, there's a roundness in my lower back. I can put my whole hand through, and then exhaling, bring that back towards the mat. So there's two ways of looking at this pose. We can think about the front body and what's happening there, the extension and the stretch in our abdominal muscles as we breathe in, followed by an exhalation and bringing contraction to those abdominal muscles. This is also balanced by what's happening in the back body. The thing we need to be most concerned with is that we are not forcing anything downwards. It's a lovely opening and closing on the breath. We're not jamming our back into the mat. Even when it comes down, I could still put a little piece of paper or maybe a thin ruler back there. We're not jamming it down. And as we move, we're breathing deeply. We're trying to get our breath down into the abdomen. A full belly breath. Just moving at your own pace, and we're spending time just feeling out what's happening. So when we've been sitting too long, there could be huge tension in the glutes, in the quads, in all the hip muscles, the pelvic muscles. So just opening up a few more. And then bring that to stillness. Bring the feet a little further apart and bring the arms out just to a comfortable distance away from the body. The knees come together. We take a breath in. And on an exhale, we just allow both knees to fall to one side. Inhaling, coming up, and exhaling, knees fall to the other side. We're not endeavoring to get those knees right down. It's just bringing some fluidity, some lubrication to the joints, and again, taking time just to feel what is. So nice, slow movements on the breath, still engaging that deep abdominal breathing. And every time you inhale, you get lighter, and exhaling, just let go of tension. Inhale, come up. Exhale, over to the side. And last time, make sure that you even it up. The counts. Then we're just going to bring those knees into the chest, and you can grab a hold back here in your hamstrings or on your shins, maybe just slightly on the outsides, and just start a gentle movement that's organic. So whatever feels good. Some suggestions I can make are going in a circle pattern, one direction and the other. Perhaps on an inhale, you let the knees come away from the chest, and exhale, bring them closer. So this can, again, kind of emulate that pelvic tilt that we just did. So when you bring them down, you can actually round the back, and then as they come closer, you bring the back closer to the mat. You can just spin the knees around. Again, we're just bringing some movement and awareness to what feels good, what doesn't, where there might be tension, gripping. A few more moments, just breathing. And then we're going to come into our first static pose. So just roll over on the side and grab yourself a chair and bring it up so that you can place your knees and calves up on the chair. Make sure you're a nice comfortable distance. And then just let the lower pelvis get really heavy onto the floor. As the area from the knees down to the hips gets really heavy, we think about the insertion point of the femur actually into the pelvis, so everything can get nice and heavy. We want to have a neutral spine, so the back of the lower back is on the mat and the belly button is tucked towards the spine, and then open up the arms. Let this get super heavy. So with a neutral spine, we're not jamming that spine into the mat. There is still a slight arch, just not a huge arch. And breathe. Super heavy feet. The blood comes down. And while we're here, let's do a little bit of work for our shoulders. So if possible, extend the arms out, palms facing up. And just really extend those arms out. Breathing deeply. Just stay here for a few breaths. And after about 6 breaths, press the palms down. Bringing a different stretch into the upper arms. Press the palms into the floor. And perhaps you can bring them up a little ways. If there's any pain, bring them down to T or down to an A. And then just have some fun. Pretend you're a bird with big wings. Slowly let those palms stay on the mat. The whole arm stays on the mat. We're protecting the shoulder area and the arms. We're just bringing some fluidity up as high as you can without pain. And the next time you come down, let's flip palms up. And once again, start that movement. Keep the shoulder blades on the floor, the arms on the floor, and the backs of the hands on the floor. Only go up as high as you can. Always move the arms as if they were in unison. So one arm does not go higher or lower than the other. They're balanced. always working to where the arm that might be experiencing soreness, how high that arm can go. Don't force it up past the point of just a mild discomfort. You want to hear a calling, but not a screaming. Bring the arms back into a T, and then bring the arms into an L position like they were goal posts, changing it up in the shoulder blades. This is a huge opener into the armpit chest area. You may need to bring those elbows a little lower. If you can, try to keep them in a parallel line, in line, shoulders and elbows in line. Still deep breathing, still concentrating on the heaviness in the legs. Letting go of any gripping in the pelvic area. And bring those arms down. For a moment, just bring the knees back into the chest. And come over on the side. We're going to increase the stretch in our shoulder area. So taking one towel and rolling it up, we're going to place the blanket still underneath our head. And then the second towel goes in the bra strap area. Just bring the chair a little closer. We don't want to be stretching out. We want to be comfortable. Just comfortably supported. And once again, stretching out. So this is a nice opener in the chest. A few more breaths here. Slow the breathing down. Deep inhales into the belly. Stretch the arms out like they were laser beams. The arms come back down, bring the knees into the chest, bring the feet down, roll over onto your side, always taking care, and bring this set of towels out. And just move the chair out of the way. And we want to grab a belt. So if you don't have a yoga strap at home, you can use a belt from a pair of pants or a house coat. Just want to increase some stretch in the hamstrings. So if you don't need the blanket at this point, you can take it away, but we want to make sure when we lay back that our neck is open, that we can still breathe easily, and our chin can be neutral. So that's like in an L shape. We aren't jutting the chin up, and we're not letting it come down to the Adam's apple. So if you cannot do this without a blanket, then use the blanket. So keep both knees bent, and we're just going to create a loop with our belt. And we're going to begin with our right foot. Just bring the belt strap around the mounts of the foot. We want to make sure you don't put it on the instep. There's no meat there to protect the nerves. We need to be conscious of that. So bring it onto the fleshy part of the foot. Keep the one knee bent for now and just set up a nice little pump here. So raising the foot and lowering, but what we're actually doing is creating a connection between that femur and hip. So we want that femur placed nicely into the hip socket. Just play a few more moments. And then once you feel like you have that connection, we allow the feet to come up. The mounts of the foot are pressing towards the ceiling and the heel. The toes are coming towards the nose. And we want to make sure that this hip is on the mat. We're not lifting up and allowing this butt cheek to come off the mat. Make sure the hip is engaged into the mat, and we have an attention to the sit bones are pressing away. So the sit bones are facing away to the end of the mat, and we're pressing that and pressing the toes down, the mounts up, the heels up. Once you're in a good position here, and we always use the strap in the same hand as the foot. We don't want to crisscross and create any tension in the shoulder area. So you can just stay here, and the arm is extended. Shoulders are flat on the mat. And if this feels fine and you have a little bit more flexibility, you're going to bring up the opposite leg, bring it up towards the first foot. Take a breath in, and then on an exhale, slowly bring that heel down. That foot is extended. It's a stompy foot. And bring it down onto the mat. This just increases the stretch a bit. Keep a little bit of a micro bend in the knee. We don't want to feel anything in the knee, in the back of the knee. There should be no pain, no sensation. We are stretching out the hamstring. You might feel it in your calf muscle, but we want to make sure we're not damaging any ligaments at the knee. Breathing deeply into the abdomen. And after about 6 breaths, you're just going to making sure the opposite leg is staying firmly extended, inner rotation, and it's strong on the floor. You're going to allow the right foot to just come over a little bit. We're not going to go to the end range. And stay there for a few moments, toes pointing downwards, heel up. You can take your left hand and bring it onto the left hip just to make sure that you're staying there with integrity. You're not allowing yourself to roll either way. We need to keep that hip straight up to the ceiling. And then let it come, switch hands, and just let the leg come across center. Bringing up the stretch into the IT band. I like to call it the tuxedo stripe on your pant, on your leg. And a few more breaths here. If you can, give it 6 nice deep inhalations and exhalations. Bring it back to center, bend the knee, take the strap off, and let yourself just open up in the lower body and just feel the difference between your right and left side. Deep breathing. Just a shavasana for a few moments. After about 6 breaths, we're going to bend both knees, bring both feet onto the mat, And then take the strap and place it around the mount of the left foot. And just once again, set up that little bit of a pump, allowing the knee to bend. We're bringing our mind's eye into the hip socket. After a few pumps and you feel that connection, make sure we have a nice connection so the left hip is on, or the left back of the left glute is on the mat. And you want to think about that left sit bone is trying to make its way. It's stretching out towards the end of the mat. There's a micro bend in the knee, heel to the ceiling, toes to the nose. Stay here for a few breaths to start. And if you feel strong enough and that you have a little bit more flexibility, you're going to take a breath in. Bring the knee into the chest and then slowly raise the right foot to meet the left. Inhale and then slowly exhale, extend that right leg out, heel towards the back end of the mat and lay it down. And then we'll stay in our Supta Asana for at least 6 breaths. Once again, really expanding on the inhale. Think about the breath of the prana running up the back of that left leg. And every exhale, just let the tension dissipate. With every inhale, the muscles become more pliable and warm. And all the tension, diseasiness escapes with the exhale. After about 6 breath cycles, take a breath in, and as you exhale, just allow the foot and leg to come a little bit over to the left side. Make sure that right hip is staying engaged. You can bring the right hand onto the hip bone. Just make sure you're not rolling over, staying within your range of motion. So yeah, some people can come right down. I don't have that flexibility, unfortunately. If you can keep this stable and you can get further down, go for it. Only to where you can. About 6 breaths. And then you're going to change hands and just bring it across over the midline. So right now my foot is kind of in line with the opposite breast. And again, nice stretch up the IT band. If you can, 6 breaths. I usually find it takes at least 6 full breath cycles to really start getting the benefits. If you can go longer, if you have the time, definitely take the time and go longer. After that 6th exhale, just come back to center, bend the knee, take the belt off and extend out. And open up in a Shavasana just for a few breaths, just to enjoy what you've just done for your body, feeling that stretch. Feels like you may feel like you've grown a few extra inches, and suddenly the hips seem like they're flatter on the mat. From here, we're going to keep our sacrum on at the center point of the mat. We're just going to let both our feet come over to the left side of the mat. And if you're not feeling too much of a stretch, you can take the right foot and just kind of place it over the left. And then being mindful of where your flexibility is in the arms. We're going to raise the arms up, and then we're going to bring our right arm, if we have it within us, right over to meet up with our left on the left upper side of the mat. A little bit of a side bend here. If the right hand can't reach right over, you can just place it over top of the body. Again, deep breaths in and out. After that 6th breath, you can bring the arm down, the other arm down, uncross, bring the right foot to the outer right edge of the mat, and then bring the left foot over to meet it. You can bring that left foot over the right ankle, bringing the right arm up, and then the left arm comes over to meet the right. So being careful and mindful, don't stretch past the point of no return. So you want to feel a stretch, but you don't want to feel any sharp stabbing, shooting pains. If you can't maintain a deep breath at an easy pace, then you're move past the point that you should be at. You should always be able to breathe deeply, and you should always be able to smile. A few more moments here. And then slowly bringing the arms back down and uncross. Both legs spread for a moment. On the next inhale, you're going to drag your knees up into your chest. Exhale. And just hold for a few breaths again. Extending the torso from the tailbone to the crown of the head. You really want to think about there's an extension in that spine. Bring the feet down. Slowly roll over to your side and raise up by bringing both hands down. We're going to come into a table pose. Now, if you have problems with your wrists and hands, for today we're going to be sweet, and we're going to bring our forearms onto the mat, palms facing one another, and the shoulders are above the elbows, and we're going to just move our knees back and stretch out. So we're not going to go right into a child's pose. We're opening up the shoulders here. It's like a puppy posture almost. So those hands are extending forward. Head is relaxed, tailbone up towards the ceiling. And then just raising up, coming back, and just breathing in, dropping the belly. Exhaling, tucking the belly, rounding the back like we were a cat. Inhaling to your modified cow. So if you're feeling okay in the shoulders and arms and hands, you can come up into a full table and still working in that cat-cow. If your knees are sore, you can lay a towel or a blanket underneath the knees, or you can double up on your mat. So cat-cow is lovely again for the shoulders, the arms, the hips, the spine, working to expand the back in our cat. Front body, the abs are contracted, coming towards the spine. And then when we breathe in, we contract the back muscles and the abdominals stretch out as that tailbone comes up towards the ceiling and our head comes up, the crown of the head comes up towards the ceiling. You can stay in cat or cow for a couple breaths. And then you can just kind of take it off in any direction. So you can kind of come forward and to the side. Just make it any kind of movement to free any tension. A few more moments, just moving. Come off the hands and just make nice circles. The final posture that we're going to work with is a chest opening pose. And thinking in line of the cat-cow, when we open and we bring our chest forward and our back, and then we come into our cat and we round. We're going to work with this, but rather than the whole spine, we want to kind of bring all the attention into our rib cage. So it's this part, and first we're just going to start with that little bit of a cat-cow. So tucking the chest in, bringing the chest out. So working over computer all day, we tend to round. So we want to open up gently. And then bring that to stillness. And we want to also develop movement on the horizontal plane. So shifting the rib cage from side to side. So if you've ever seen a belly dancer, this is something that they have beautiful fluidity in the spine, throughout the spine, not just in the belly area, but also up in the shoulders and chest. So swinging the chest and the lower body is staying fairly stable. So if you can come up on your knees, this is a good position to do it from. Side to side. And then we're going to come into a full movement. So we're going to pop the chest forward, move it to the side, bring it back, slide it to the other side, pop it forward, and slide, back, slide, pop forward, slide, back, slide, forward. It's like we're creating, imagine that you're creating a box shape. And then maybe round it out a little bit at the corners, so we're making more of an oval with our chest. And one more time in this direction, come back, and then we're going to move it the other way. So side, back, side, forward, swing it across. We always want to move in opposite directions to bring balance. bringing that to stillness. And we'll end with our heart opening, just again to bring a little bit of fluidity and movement to the arms. Close your eyes, take a breath in, and slowly exhale deeply. And then open your eyes and your heart as you breathe in. Exhale, flip the palms and let the breath come out, arms down. You can allow, as you breathe in, the chin to kind of follow the movement of your hands. And final. And bringing the hands back to the center of your chest in prayer. Just bowing down. Taking a breath in and exhale fully. Namaste. Thank you for sharing this practice with me today. Make sure that if you like my videos, that you give me a thumbs up below. Share it with your friends, and you can always become a subscriber so that you get first knowledge of the new videos that I post. Have a great day and enjoy your Ahimsa life.